So I found this channel. I'm going to show you now. Not channel, sorry. It's a website, and it's called Pharos, Doing Justice to the Classics. And you might think, come on, Metatron, that's like a representation of your entire position since day one, doing justice to the classics. Right, but this is the old school social justice warrior definition of justice, unfortunately, I think. Because basically they support the BBC, they support CNN, they support Swap Everything. If you complain about it, we'll call you names. An entire website dedicated to that is literally what I need to lose brain cells. And just to have a few ideas here of what we're talking about. Categories. Anti-indigenous. Anti-Semitism. Black Achilles has his own category. I wonder if Black Cleopatra has her own category. Documenting appropriations. Homophobia, misogyny, pseudonyms and avatars. Well, I guess this one is fine. Response essays. Scholars respond. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to have a look at those scholars, shall we? Because there are a few I have in mind that I would strip of all the titles and fire them at once. Site news editorial. Sparta. Teaching resources. Define teaching. Uncategorized. White nationalism. White supremacy. Xenophobia. Islamophobia. Okay. I think you know now what justice means. Justice means we're gonna take the history, mythology, literature, architecture, why don't you, geography of everything we want that has to do with the core of the West, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, Etruscans, everyone. We're gonna take them all and we're gonna twist them to an unrecognizable shape while attacking everyone because it suits our needs. And in fact, in their recent post, we've got Latin mottos in state flag sanitize colonial violence. Who needs empathy? Why some white nationalists condemn Western civilization? When the richest man in the world loves classics, I don't know who they're talking about. When hate meme teach his meme. Okay. Alright, so you might think, Metatron, why did you have to do this? Why do you always have to open Pandora's box after Pandora's box? At this point, we've got a Pandora's vase shop. It's not even, it's literally, because I'm Link, and every time I see a vase, I have to smash it, particularly when I know it's full of bullshit. So, racist reactions to David Gyasi playing Achilles in BBC Netflix Troy miniseries. Oh, I remember this one. So, of course, this is a post from 2018. I just was interested because, you know, they have an entire section dedicated to Black Achilles, and this is not part of it. So how important can it be to them to really convince you that you are a filthy racist if you dare to say Achilles was a blonde Greek? You could tell me, yeah, Metatron, but it's mythology. So what? If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. I want to make this very, very clear before we continue dismantling, because I'm going to call out every single one of them until the day I die. The people that tell you, but it's a mythological personage. They don't exist, so why does it matter? The split second that you say, okay, then let's take a historical character that is not historical, sorry. Let's take a mythological god, a character, a hero from African or Asian or, heck, Indonesian, whatever you like. Maori, turn them white. Are they going to be like, well, it's mythological, so, I mean, I'm going to be intellectually honest and I'm going to say, yeah, no, they're not. David Gyasi, a London-born actor of Ghanaian descent, plays the role of Achilles in BBC's and Netflix miniseries Troy Fall of a City. Implicitly racist reactions to this casting have appeared on social media and in the comment section of press about the show. So, alrighty, they would include me. They would include you. And here is the first massive red flag that you can see, not only with a website like this, which is clearly funded by propagandists, but with everyone who has any kind of approach like this. It's like, it's literally a form of emotional/mental manipulation, because you don't want to be called a, well, not anymore. In 2018, it probably worked. I mean, not on me. because I've been calling them out for years now. But I can see it. I can see someone looking at that and be like, wait, but I've read the classics, and that's not how Achilles was described. He wasn't an African man. He wasn't black. If anything, he was blonde. He's described as blonde. Like there is this description of this scene that someone grabs his blonde hair. But the moment you say that, even if you have no racism whatsoever, which is the majority of people who are going to say something like that, they don't care because they'll still implicitly call you a racist if you... We know that. It's not news. But I think in 2018 it was still working. 2015, 2016 it was working because you did that and you're like, oh, but I'm not a racist. I don't want to be called a racist. But now we reached a point where you're like, I don't care. Call me whatever you want. Whatever. Great. Yeah, okay, fine. Racist. Okay, great. Can we talk about why a Ghanaian man should not play a classic Greek hero? Because Greek representation, if anything. I'm going to read a little more because I'm not going to make it all about... I've already complained about Black Achilles when it mattered. I was right to complain because the only thing got worse. Let's see, the topic now has been taken up on Stuff Black People Don't Like, a site run by Paul Kersey, author of the book Whitey on the Moon, which attributes the demise of NASA to the promotion of blackness and diversity at the expense of initial dream and exploring stars. Well, it's stupid to do this once again. You're trying to do guilty by association. I don't know who this person is. Maybe they do have decent positions. If they're talking about DEI, I think DEI is nonsense, and it's not racist to call out DEI. But maybe not. Maybe he is a racist. I haven't got a clue. However, you can't just use the worst possible, even if it was a case. You can't just take the worst possible thing and then try to block any type of criticism when it comes to racial swapping of real historical characters and mythological ones, because literature is culture. It's important to the core of any civilization, and it should be respected for how it is. That's the reality. Unless what you're trying to do is delete that core. Backlash, a case, yeah, okay. So, in the case of Troy Fall of City, Kersey, this person, accuses the producers of deconstructing white mythic heroes to nothing more than Africans and lichens, casting black actors in white roles to the long-standing practice of whitewashing in film, which systematically perpetuates racist stereotypes and limits non-white actors' opportunities to appear in major productions. Now, the people that severely limit non-white actors' opportunities to appear in major productions are the people that are all about the money, ladies and gentlemen, because no one blocks you. Instead of taking Greek, Roman, Nordic, European, Germanic, Celtic, all of this is white. So rather than taking that and twisting it and swapping it black to be like, but they need the representation, we know what the real, correct, morally strong position to take for people if they really cared about representation. Make a series about something that happened in Africa. Make a series about something that happened in freaking Aborigines, whatever you like. Whatever you like. They don't do that. What does that tell you? Either they only care about the money, even worse, they think the only stories that matter are white stories, white historical characters. Man, I'm going to make their blood boil by saying this, but that's what your actions speak louder than words. So when you're like, no, we don't care about African mythology, who cares? Kings in Southeast Asia, absolutely no. What's an important white guy? This one, okay, swap it black. When you do that, either you're telling me that you don't think that whatever the box office is gonna do is like, yeah, no one is gonna care about the queens of Africa, the king of whatever the heck. Who cares? It's not at the same level as white history and literature. You're either thinking that because you want the money, or once again, you think black people or non-whites require white charity. However you look at it, you lose. When you're trying to be like, oh no, I'm all about representation, and they do that, and then the moment you present strong logical arguments that are watertight as to why this is an inappropriate modus operandi, then the only thing they can do is this. Are you saying you don't want to see black people on screen? But there is also white erasure. Absolutely, there is white erasure. Mostly because they freaking just hate everything European. These are people that have learned to self-loathe. You have people that don't care. You have patriots, and then on the very opposite, you have the self-loathing cringe. It's the opposite, complete. Let me see what else they present to us, because they really want to drive this one home. They made scholars respond to racist backlash. It's always against Black Achilles Part 3. What makes a Homeric hero a hero? Scholars, I'll have to see what the BBC calls scholars, but what are they going to do? Are they going to say, are you saying that in order to be a hero, you have to be white? If you're from Europe, yes, if that's what the hero was. Scholars respond to racist backlash against Black Achilles Part 2. What did Achilles look? I'm going to click this one. There is no way they can spin it. He's described as being blonde. Scholars respond to racist backlash against Black Achilles Part 1. Ancient Greek attitudes towards Africans. Who cares? Who cares? They painted them on the vase. There is, in fact, who most likely was a black African. Why don't they use that one at this point? Unless there is new evidence to contrast. Last time I checked. But whatever. Further racist backlash. It's always racist. Always. And we're so tired of it. This is Pharos' second post responding to the racist criticism of David Gyasi being cast to play Achilles in the BBC Netflix miniseries Troy Fall of a City. Pharos documented that criticism here and here, I don't care. Racist commentators accused the miniseries. Man, the manipulative language. This website is a disgrace. Commentators accused the miniseries of erasing the white racial identity of Achilles. That's exactly what they're doing by casting a black man to play him. Yep, call me racist too then, because I absolutely agree. As evidence for this racial identity, they claim that the Homeric epics describe Achilles as having blonde hair. No, it's not a claim. That's exactly how it's described. Besides, even if such description wasn't there, you can assume. Because once again, if I'm reading a mythological story that it's set in Nigeria, even if they don't give me a description, because they give it for granted, and they tell me he was a strong man and he was a warrior and he fought 17 lions and defeated all the enemies of the tribe, how am I going to imagine the guy? I'm going to imagine him black. Because unless they tell me otherwise, which is, by the way, something we do see in the sources when it comes to ancient populations like the Greeks, Romans, and the way they describe Northern Africa. You know, all that discussion that I've had, Egypt was black, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. They had some black people living in there, but it wasn't. Is one of the strong reasons why we can prove that is because every time there is an ancient city which was predominantly black, the ancient sources tell us. So if someone tells you, for instance, the ancient city of Felline, we're not exactly sure which city it is, but we know it was in the northern part of Africa on the coastline, and it's difficult to really exactly know which modern city that would be. There are a couple of ideas, but the city was called Felline, and we are told the inhabitants of the city of Felline had black skin. What does that tell you? If someone tells you the inhabitants of Queens have black skin, you assume that that's their characteristic. Thereby, people in Manhattan or people don't. Maybe some people do, but that's what sets them aside in the way they're described. And then you combine that with the way they represent themselves, the ancient Egyptians, with that kind of light brown, reddish, because they add a little bit of red pigment, by the way. And then occasionally you do see the people that look like Nubians and they're black, like actually black, either dark brown or black. And they represent the majority in a way that it's clear, it's so obvious. As evidence, the blonde hair, yes. We set aside the obvious point that one should not invest too much in the supposedly true hair color of a mythical person. No, you don't get to say this when you are attacking people. You are the one who changed. If one shouldn't invest too much in the supposed true hair color of a mythical person, then why did you change it? If you are the one who is changing it, then you cared about it enough for whatever message you were trying to push, or for whatever strategy you were trying to do. You are the one who cared enough to change it. It's just like with in video games, body type A, body type B, you cannot say male and female anymore. But then when you're like, why? Male and female are perfectly apt. Or why do you care so much? You cared enough to change it. It's a response. You cannot use this line and maintain intellectual consistency. In what follows, we assess evidence for how ancient audiences would have understood these descriptions of Achilles' hair to show that it is not possible to base a racial theory on the color terms used in the Homeric epics to describe Achilles' hair. That's ridiculous. So they're trying to gaslight you into thinking, Well, the guy had blonde locks, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a black African. Or he wasn't Asian. How do you know he wasn't Asian? The term in question had a range of meanings, some which bear no relation to our concept of blonde. But the main one that they use in the majority of literature, and in fact description, it's the term they use to describe Celtic people and Germanics. Do you think that one may have a little correlation with the conception of the ancients that you're trying to change? And in any case, color terms in Homer should not be understood literally but symbolically. Oh, that's the path they're going. I'm gonna dismantle them. Although we can probably assume the most ancient audiences imagined that Achilles looked like them, sure, these two descriptions of Achilles' hair do not definitively exclude the possibility of a black person playing the role of Achilles. Clowns! They're gonna talk about Xanthos, okay? Yes, and by the way, it says it's true that Achilles' head is described twice, so he really wanted to make it like, guys, he was blonde. Just so that now us in the future will be like, did he actually mean it? No, it was symbolic. Iliad, line 100, Achilles, newly enraged by the general Agamemnon's treatment of him, draws his sword to kill his commander before Athena stop him by seizing him by his Xanthos hair. Yeah, that's exactly what I was telling you. She grabs him from the hair. You know another one who is described like this and they don't care? The Little Mermaid. If you read the book, if you read the original book, a Danish story. Is it Danish? I think it's Danish. The original, whatever, Nordic story. She's described as having candid white skin. Man, they must have hated it. Just for those that will tell you, well, she's a monster. She's described with green skin. No, she's not. Achilles, even the thought of white skin, Achilles dedicates Xanthos' lock hair, okay, as the funeral pyre to Patroclus, yes. Whatever the interpretation of these lines, whatever the interpretation, maybe that they meant it to be blonde? How about that interpretation, Professor? 2 words in 16,000 lines. Oh, the manipulation. 2 words in 16-line poem is not much evidence for the appearance of its hero. The description of color found in Homeric epics match so poorly to our perception of color. The most famous example in the epic description of the ocean as wine dark. Didn't I tell you they were going to do this? This isn't true. Okay, let's see. Well, it used to be thought that the Greeks must have been colorblind. No, it was a bunch of imbeciles that said that, fully debunked on my channel. This is untrue, of course. As obviously, it's like we have the same organ of vision as Homo sapiens. So, of course, obviously. And Pharos contributors, have argued the ancient Greeks could see as many colors as we can, but they conceptualize them differently than we do. Yes, there is a different position. For instance, there is one word that they use for both blue and gray, and sometimes they use it for eyes. And so Athena, for instance, you can describe it as having silvery eyes, or you can describe it as having the eyes that was the color of the sky. At the end of the day, we don't really know. And it probably didn't matter. Those colors that are in between green and blue, we could say aquamarina or a teal color. Some cultures call it green, some cultures call it blue. Some cultures have its own dedicated word. And if you think about it, the English calls blue both light blue and dark blue. But for instance, in Italian, we don't. We use different names. A bit like what you do with red and pink. But at the end of the day, pink doesn't need to be its own color. It could be identified as light red, just like you say light blue. It's just how it is. Yeah, we have different. So we perceive in English light blue and dark blue as being the same color, but pink and red as being separate colors, simply because of nomenclature, which kind of assesses our perception of our mental projection of the way we see color. How they're going to use that to mean, well, but by blonde, we don't know if he actually meant blonde with blonde, the word that they used to mean blonde with people in the north and Germanic blondes. But who knows if they actually meant blonde. Is it really blonde meaning blonde? Or do they mean blonde meaning a black African because we need it to? The sea described as wine dark following tragic passages in the poem because the description represents the mood of the scene more than the superficial color. Okay. This is the last thing I'm going to read about this before I get a heart attack. But I want to let's see if I can find a representation, because as a man, I know the Mediterranean Sea like the back of my hand. And these people that have never set foot in my side of the world, yet they feel like they have the intelligence to be able to not only argue, but change stuff. The sea in the Mediterranean at dusk looks exactly like wine. It's purple. Dark, in fact. It is beautiful. I'd say this is a good idea of what I'm talking about, but this is what I'm talking about. I remember seeing this. Now, given this may have been enhanced a little bit with the colors, I remember telling my dad freaking loves his wine, and I remember as a child being like, hey dad, you want some wine? Like, we would joke about it. It can absolutely look like this. So imagine an ancient author, besides, without any type of electrical pollution. So already the sky they could see is not the sky that you and I see, unless you live in a rural area. And if you do, bless you. Bless you. Because you have a connection to the ancients that we in the city lose. But imagine them. I can see when they look at this, they're like, man, that's wine. But these pseudo-intellectuals have to tell you, no, it's not that it looks like that. It's a device of intellectual capacity to represent the conceptualizer, whatever. And they go build up this castle of cards, and all you really needed to is grow up in that area or just spend some time there, and you would immediately know they're full of shit. I'm gonna look into saying it because I'm gonna dismantle this. I'm gonna dedicate like 5 videos to this disgrace of a website. Because these people need someone to call them out, because enough is enough.